Hey, what's going on, everybody? What's happening? It is Wednesday, December the 7th, 2022, 2:23 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name is Dave McRae, coming to you live from the VoiceMann Studios in Toronto, Canada. And it's hard to believe that Christmas is just around the corner in less than 3 weeks. 2.5 weeks, I think, isn't it? Something like that? Yeah. Crazy stuff. The end of 2022 is upon us. 2023 is just around the corner, ladies and gentlemen. Are you excited about it? Are you ready for a new year? Are you ready for a new beginning? Are you ready for the horizon? Are you ready for dreams? Are you ready for, well, whatever the hell you may or may not be ready for? I don't know. But are you ready, ladies and gentlemen? 2023 is it. It is the year of dreams. Yes, 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 yes. The year of dreams. The year of dreams, 2023. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? But yeah, what's going on, everybody? I had some time this afternoon. I have a meeting tonight. With It's Me Billy Chapter 2. But I had some time this afternoon and I thought, why not get one of these things in, because it's been a little bit. This month has been very busy, or the last month, I should say, not this month necessarily, but the last month or so has been very busy between Dylan's New Nightmare and It's Me Billy Chapter 2, and then catching up on all the voice work I've been doing. It's been busy. Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think of things I would have loved to have jumped. Well, I did jump on, was it last Friday? I jumped on Friday or Saturday, and I talked a bit about the Indiana Jones 5 teaser trailer, which was great to watch and whatnot. But yeah, it's just been very busy. The good kind of busy, but busy. And it didn't leave a lot of room for jumping on. And even when I had some time, I was just kind of exhausted. I was like, because I mean, you guys are amazing. I mean, I could literally lie in my bed with my phone and just talk to you guys, and you guys would be like, yeah, this is great, it's fine, right? But when you do one of these shows where you're in the studio and I'm exerting a lot of, energy. I usually ride these shows solo. So I don't really have anybody to bounce anything off of, unless of course I'm doing the Two Dude Show. So when you're on here for like 90 minutes, 2 hours, and you're firing at the level that I am, it takes a lot out of you. So, yeah, it's just been busy and I've been exhausted, but here I am. It's an all Q&A. I want to catch up. I want to find out how you guys are doing and what you're excited about and what movies you've watched and any questions you have for me on anything. So we'll see if anybody rolls on in. It's impromptu. Of course, we're not talking about Halloween, so you always have those people going, hey, McRae's live. He's not talking about Halloween. I don't give a shit. I don't want to talk about this. No, he's not talking Halloween. Who gives a fuck? It's true. It's true. All right. Let's see. What do we got? We got Antonis Andriotis in the chat room. We got Mike Johnson there. MagaCat, Chester Franklin Jr., great moderator Cody Snyder, of course. Destiny Falconer is here. And Tabitha Short, another one of my great mods, is here. Evil Alex is here. Let's start it off with Evil Alex. And Evil Alex says, hey, Dave, hope you've had great days. Great days. How was your last weeks? Hyped for Indy 5, and did you hear the rumors around the film? Okay, so how have I been? I've been good. Hope you've been well. The last weeks have been busy, like I've been saying. Hyped for Indy 5. I'm hyped for Indiana Jones 5 as well. Did you hear about the rumors? I have. I've read about them. And what do you think about them? Okay, so here's what I think about anything whenever there is a big pop culture movie that is on the horizon. So now again, I'm not neck deep into the fandom on the same levels that a lot of people are. But so I'm kind of on the peripheral. Okay. Sort of, I have my ear to the floor. I mean, I have a good sense of what's going on. And whenever there's a big Star Wars movie that's about to come out, or a Marvel movie, or a DC movie, or Indiana Jones, there are YouTube channels that will play the rumor mill game. That's part of their identity. That's what they do. And a lot of the times they're just recycling stuff that maybe they've heard on Reddit. Now, I'm not on Reddit. I don't know a lot about it. My understanding, it's sort of a forum where everybody just kind of talks to each other and shares shit. That's cool. But I'm not on there. So I have perused it a little bit. When somebody told me that people were talking trash about me on there, I'm like, what? I got to check this out. It was amazing. So I got a sense of it, but I understand that, there are leakers and people that might work on the set that go to Reddit and leak stuff and all that kind of stuff. Okay. All right, fine. And this is sort of the same kind of pattern that we're seeing, with Indiana Jones. And depending on who it is, sometimes they might be right, sometimes they might be wrong. I mean, listen, there's assholes that work. There are assholes and people that don't give a shit who also work on film projects and who are close to said productions and who feel the need to be a dick and get online and spoil everything. You know what I'm saying? I know it's happened with Star Wars and all that kind of stuff. However, the latest rumors that I think you're talking about in regards to Indiana Jones is that Phoebe Waller-Bridge becomes the next Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford dies, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. Here's where I sit with this kind of stuff. James Mangold, the director of the movie, has come out. He's the director of the movie. He's the co-writer of the movie. And he has come out and said, no, I'm paraphrasing what he said, but he has come out and said, no, that's bullshit. Now, this is not a situation like when J.J. Abrams said, no, Khan is not in the movie. It's not the same kind of thing. It's not the same kind of temperature, okay? The same kind of situation. Usually you can tell when a director's being cheeky or they're being like, I don't know, not going to say, no, I'm not going to, they're misdirecting, things like that. This is clearly, he's come out and said, no, nobody's donning the fedora. Nobody's taking over. It's not happening. It was never in the script. It was never in the cut. It was never there. I'm the director of the movie. That's what I'm saying. As far as I'm concerned, end of discussion. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to like the movie. That doesn't mean there might not be things in there that you don't like. But as far as Phoebe Waller-Bridge taking over, literally taking over, which is what the rumors are, right? Indy dies, Phoebe Waller's taking over. There's even this rumor that, and all of a sudden you see like these... there's time travel involved. The young Indy dies, therefore erasing the older Indy, and Phoebe Waller-Bridge takes over. And then we see clips of her in Raiders and Temple and Last Crusade. I mean, it's so ridiculous, right? Well, I wouldn't put it past Lucasfilm. Okay, all right. The director has come out and said, no, none of that is true. It's literally not true. It was never part of it. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Forgot to put my phone on silent. Now, you're always going to get YouTube channels and people who will go, okay, well, he did say that, but I don't know. Like, you're always going to get that. But as far as I'm concerned, it's case closed. I have no issues and no worries about Phoebe Waller-Bridge taking over or being artificially implanted in Raiders of the Lost Ark, Last Crusade, and Temple of Doom scenes. I have no issues. The director and the co-writer has said, it's not true. It's not happening. It's not happening. It's a bit of a different situation, like I said, in regards to the Khan thing. This is more about rumors that people are it's a different time. I mean, that movie came out in 2013, I think. I think the reason why James Mangold addressed this, because some people have even said, well, why would he even address it, right? Well, because it's his movie. He wrote it. It's 2022. He's on Twitter, and he's saying, that's not true. if somebody said, oh, now I'm telling you right now, and it's me, Billy, chapter 2. There's a scene where the fuck thing comes in and it's a total bait and switch, and all of a sudden Billy isn't Billy and he's fucking Michael Myers. I'd get online, I'd go, no, that's not fucking true. That's a sack of shit. That's a lie. So whoever told you that is lying to you. That was never part of the script. I would get online and say that too, because it's my fucking movie and it's not true. Oh, well, why do you care? If it's not true, then just let us watch the movie. Like, it's just like you can't win with certain people. There are certain channels that create their entire identity around this exact thing, exact thing. Woke this, woke that. I mean, just look at their catalog of videos. It's the same fucking thing over and over and over again. It's nothing but hating on Lucasfilm and hating on Kathleen Kennedy and hating on Disney and hating on this and hating on that. Indiana, it's same with Avatar, right? There's glowing reviews coming out, from Avatar: The Way of Water, but you still have people going, no, 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 no. Doesn't mean you're going to like it, but somehow, no, the glowing reviews are lies. Everybody's bought and paid for. It's tiring. Like you cannot win. You cannot win. There are certain people that have built their entire identity around doing this kind of thing. So they will never be able to acknowledge when something is good because it goes against the identity of what they've created. They have viewers and viewership that is counting, that tune in for the confirmation bias. They tune in to hear, and if they come on and go, wow, you know what? Avatar: The Way of Water was fucking amazing. I hated the first Avatar. I thought it was shit. Fuck that Ferngullian space shit. It was dog shit. But wow, Avatar: The Way... Even if they thought that, they could never get online and say that, because it would feel disingenuous to their viewers who are expecting them to rip into it just the same, right? So I'm not saying everybody's like that, but you have to be very careful on who you watch, who you listen to, do your own research. If James Mangold, the director of the movie, comes out and says, it's not happening, those rumors about Phoebe taking over and being implanted into, it's not true. Well, that's the director of the movie. That's not the craft services water boy. That's the director and co-writer of the movie has said this, And again, I know people like to point to JJ and Khan, but that's a different situation. It was a completely different situation. He was being cheeky, and he was trying to keep sort of a surprise there, a surprise that he thought would be great and cool for fans, not something that that was being toxic and the vitriol and the woke. It's a different time. It's a completely different situation, in my opinion, anyway. So I'm not saying that directors and filmmakers and studios don't misdirect. I mean, look at the advertising for Spider-Man and how they were removed from from some of the trailers, Toby and Andrew. And I get that, but this is not that situation. It's not that situation. So that's how I feel about it. I'm not worried about it. If James Mangold had come out and said something like, hey, listen, calm down. Just wait and see the movie. I would have been like, wait and see the movie. That's not a no. That's just a wait and see the movie. But he has come out and said, it's not true. It's not true. So that's good enough for me. That's how now I'm assuming that those are the rumors you're talking about, specifically the Phoebe Waller-Bridge stuff, because that's the stuff that gets all those YouTube channels talking and all those YouTube channels getting angry and talking about woke this and woke that. And listen, you guys know me. I mean, listen, I'm not denying that there isn't a problem or, a situation where things are a little too PC and a little too woke. There's no doubt that there is, but not everything is woke. right? Just because you hire a woman doesn't mean it's woke. Just because there's a gay couple in a movie doesn't mean it's woke. But I think that's largely because most of the vitriol online, not all, but most of the vitriol online about this kind of thing comes from people who are just not informed. They glom onto buzzwords. They don't do their own research. They watch these channels that just recycle the same thing over and over again and get caught up into the groupthink confirmation bias. And they don't actually know what it means or really dive into certain things to dissect and come up with their own informed opinion on things. They just hear the buzzwords, they hear the word woke, they see somebody and they go, and then they tune into their favorite channel that's going to be ripping it apart. There's no independent sort of thinking. There's no, just like, do you know what I mean? That's how I see it anyway. I mean, maybe you disagree. You're free to disagree. I'm not talking about any channel specifically. I'm just talking about sometimes I'll be scrolling YouTube and I'll see like a thumbnail and I'll look and then I'll look at their catalog and I'm like, oh yeah, this is all they do. Like all they do is just, okay, well, Kathleen Kennedy is, and it's just like everything, it's like, God, don't you get tired of it? I mean, don't you get, but it gets clicks and it gets views and it brings them revenue, right? So, I mean, I'm not saying that's the only reason they're doing it. I'm not saying they don't really believe in it, but come on. I mean, listen, I believe the things I say about Halloween. I believe the things I, feel about Halloween. But, it's not lost on me that I know if I do a Halloween live stream, I'm going to get 500 people in here. Hello? I'm not dumb, right? I know that. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying they don't believe what they're saying, but at the end of the day, I mean, they know what they're doing. Anyway, I've rambled on enough about that. So that's what I feel. I'm assuming those are the rumors you're talking about. That's how I feel about it. I'm just tired. I'm just tired of the whole, the director has come out and said it's not true. That's good enough for me. That's good enough for me. And if he's lying, well, then it's, pretty much career suicide. I would say, not career suicide, but certainly, not a smart thing to do. All right, let's see here. Solid Saturn 03 says, has It's Me Billy 2 begun filming yet? No. So something to keep in mind that's very important is that, remember, It's Me Billy Chapter 2 has been announced, but it hasn't been greenlit yet. There's still a very real possibility that this movie will never get made. And what do I mean by that? Well, we need the money, right? So we're going to be counting on you guys to step forward again, like you did the first time, via an Indiegogo campaign. Again, we don't know what the production budget will be yet, but we're counting on you guys to step forward and help us make this a reality. So if we don't raise the money, like, for example, if our budget, I don't know, but if our budget ended up being $80,000 and we only raise $5,000, the movie ain't happening. There will be no Chapter 2. It's just the reality. Movies, when you want to go out and make a movie at this level and you're hiring people and you're using all of the gear and the equipment and all that kind of stuff, it costs a lot of money between, insurance and craft services and, the rental of the locations, the hiring of the actors, the rental of the equipment, the rental of the trucks, the whole thing, right? We're making a movie. So no, it hasn't started shooting yet. The Indiegogo campaign is going to be launched in the spring. We'll have an exact date for you soon, and it will run for 2 months again. And if we can raise the money we need, then it's greenlit. Then we move into pre-production, and that'll be very exciting because then it's coming. But no, it's not shooting yet. It's not shooting yet. We're still in development and we are nearly done the script. We're almost done the script. That's my meeting tonight with Bruce. So, yeah. Let me see here. Scroll down. Super chat comes from Josh McKenna that sends in $9.99. Says, I know Harrison Ford is your favorite actor. He is. Have you watched Dead Heat on a Merry-Go-Round? Years ago, I did. Yep. Paging Mr. Ellis. Mr. Ellis. It's Ford's first movie and he only has one line. Yep. I love watching actors in their first film debut. Yeah. Dead Heat on a Merry-Go-Round, I believe was 1966 or 68, somewhere in there. And he played a bellboy. And, yeah, Paging Mr. Ellis. Mr. Ellis. Yep. I remember that. Very cool. And thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Mr. Bate sends in $1.99, says, technically speaking, isn't Michael a virgin? Nah. Necrophilia, I'm just saying. Michael Parton sends in $5, says, hey, Dave, what horror franchises are you excited to see return next year? I don't know what's returning next year. I guess Scream, I guess. I'm going to be it's me, Billy. I don't know what's returning. Well, I guess if all goes well, the Crystal Lake series on Peacock will return. So that's cool. I'm very curious to see what they're going to do with that. Scream, I'm not really a big Scream fan. I liked the first one because I thought it was the perfect example of what it was the perfect example of that kind of a movie. And I think every time you make a movie after that, it's just a watered down version of the first one. It's kind of how I feel about Stranger Things. Although I think each season is very strong. Even 2 has grown on me. But Stranger Things, the first season has always been my favorite because it is the perfect example of what that was supposed to be, right? Childhood innocence, the naivety, the Goonies, Spielberg meets Stephen King meets John Carpenter, the 80s. It was the perfect, and everything you do after that is just sort of a recycled version of it. The kids are getting older, the naivety is being lost, sex has to come in, and relationship dynamics change and all that kind of stuff. It's still very good. The Duffer Brothers have done a really good job at growing and making it feel organic and natural, and it's great. They've done as good a job as I think you could do. But when I watched that first season, it's still my favorite because it's the perfect example of that. So I kind of feel that way about Scream. That, Scream 4 is kind of, it's all right, I guess. And 5 was fun on a certain level because, it's a Scream movie. But they're just, in my opinion, watered down versions of that first movie. I think that first movie is great. The others, I don't really care about Scream 6. I'll watch it because, hey, it's Scream. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know what they're going to do, but we'll see. Evan Heathcock sends in $10, says, hey, Dave, a little random. I know, but have you watched The Warriors from 79? If so, what are your thoughts? Pure 70s cheese. I love it. I know the movie you're talking about. I can see the poster right now, but I have not seen it. I've not seen it, so I can't really comment on it. My apologies, but I know it's very popular. I do know that. Alex Schambach says, hey, Dave, watching from Spain. Yes, Spain. We'll be back in the States for Christmas. Very cool. Do you have any holiday horror favorites besides Black Christmas? Hoping to check out the new David Harbour movie, Violent Night. I don't think I do. Halloween, I guess, but I don't really consider Halloween a holiday per se. My Bloody Valentine. I don't know. Not really. Not really. I wouldn't say so. Violent Night does look like a lot of fun though. So I'm looking forward to checking that out. I think that'd be a lot of fun. And I like David Harbour a lot, actually. Chester Franklin Jr. says, Dave, do you have some favorite non-horror Christmas and horror Christmas movies? Hope you're doing good. Thanks again, and hope you received my messages. I did, Chester. I did, yes. Well, I do, but the non-Christmas horror, I'm doing a live stream this Saturday with the Slaughtered Lamb and Cosplay Chris. I think it's a live stream where we talk about sort of our favorite Christmas movies. So I'm going to leave it for that because I want to kind of make you guys watch that. And Christmas horror, again, like I said, not really. Black Christmas. I'm not a huge fan of Silent Night, Deadly Night, or, Christmas Evil. They're all, they are what they are. They are what they are. But Black Christmas, I really do like. So I'm going to say not really. Let's see here. Mike Johnson says Scream 5 was excellent in my opinion. It was really well done, Dave. I personally think it's the second best after the original. Well, it's a Scream movie. It's a modern Scream movie. It's well done. Yeah. I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I'm not saying I hated Scream 5. I didn't hate it at all, but it's a Scream movie. And I watch it and I just think I feel the same way I do about Scream as I do a lot of the times about horror franchises that go on. It's just like, okay, we've been here, done this, it's over. You know, it's just different versions of the same thing. Okay, teenagers and go back to Woodsboro and they got somebody's gonna die. Who's it gonna be? You know, it's the same thing. And that's actually not a criticism. It's actually more, well, it is, but it's more of a compliment in the sense of it's done. Like, you don't need to do anymore. You know, Scream was set up as a whodunit. And yes, you can continue on with Scream and those whodunits, but I don't know. I'm just over it. I enjoy watching it. It's fun. The nostalgia is always good, right? And they're competently made movies, right? The production value is really good. Some of the scenes, it's always, I'm never bored, but I just walk away, I turn it off going, yeah, that was good. You know, and then I go on with my day. Like, I'm not like, whoa, you know what I mean? Or like, whoa, or, you know, I'm just, yeah, it was good. You know, and I go on with my day. Like, it's a Scream movie. You know, and so I imagine that Scream 6 will be a Scream movie, you know. Now, it has a chance to be a bit different because I think, like David Gordon Green, and this could be good or bad, whenever you're doing a legacy sequel, which is essentially what Scream 5 was, what Halloween 18 was, you know, and in a lot of ways, it's almost like what Rob Zombie's Halloween was as well. Even though it wasn't a sequel, it was a remake and a reboot of the franchise. A lot of the times you'll find directors, and this could be intentional, it could be notes from the studio, that they only have a certain, you know what I mean? But they will often, that first one will feel very familiar. You know, it'll feel very familiar, with familiar story beats, familiar callbacks, nostalgia, you know, just to kind of get you into the seat, kind of like even what The Force Awakens did, right? A lot of the times you will have them go back to go forward. And it's usually that second movie that will either make or break the continuation of that. And we've seen examples of where it's broken it. You look at Rob Zombie's 2. Rob Zombie did his John Carpenter Halloween. Now, when I say that, I don't mean it's an exact remake. Obviously, he's got a backstory and there's, I'll crawl over there and skull fuck the shit out of you, bitch, and all crazy shit. But when you look at how it plays out, right? It's like, yeah, this is like a version of Halloween. But then you look at Rob Zombie's 2 and it's nothing like Halloween 2. Right? So now that he got his feet wet and he did his little tip to John Carpenter, he's going to go way over here. And you look at something like, you know, like Scream, and it kind of feels a bit like that, right? It's a legacy sequel, but it feels very familiar. And now Scream 6 is set in New York City, you know, and it's like, what's that going to be, right? Like, how is Ghostface in New York going to... Is this, you know, now that they've gotten you on board, right? And they've got your back, you know, and they've got you back and they've earned your trust back. Now they're going to go and do this. And it's like, okay, well, it's either going to work or it's not. Look at The Force Awakens, right? I'm not saying everybody liked it, but the issues with the sequel trilogy didn't begin with The Force Awakens. It began with The Last Jedi. So you look at The Force Awakens, they go back, they deliver something familiar, but new, right? Some new characters, but still familiar. You know, that nostalgia, like, oh, this is kind of cool. I remember this. Yeah, this is what Star Wars is supposed to feel like. Yes, yes, yes. And then they went off and did this. And it's like, you know what I'm saying? And so you'll often see that. You look at Halloween 18, right? A little familiar, with some familiar story beats. And then I go off and do Halloween Kills, and it's like, you know. And so I don't know. It's my fingers are crossed that Scream in New York works and it doesn't end up being a Jason Takes Manhattan thing. But yeah, Scream is one of those movies where I like the first one, but all the sequels are just, to me, just lesser versions of that first one. Really, at the end of the day. Let's see here. Got that. Super chat comes in from Beep Bop Boop. Sends in £1.79. Says, thoughts on Brian Fuller's Crystal Lake show? Well, there's a Two Dudes episode I did the other day with Tony Michael. We do a show on this channel called Two Dudes and Some Bullshit every Monday night at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Unless, of course, we have to reschedule for whatever reason. And our last episode, just a couple of days ago, was all about that. So if I were you, I would, of course, after you're done watching this, I would go and watch that episode, because we dive into it. We talk about it, what we want to see, what we think might happen. It's really cool. So I would check that out. It's just the last video before this one. Let me see. Dominic St. Clair. Dominic, I think I don't have my glasses on. St. Clair Studios says, I feel like Halloween Ends is a good film, but came at the wrong moment in the franchise. What are your thoughts, Dave? Well, I've talked about Halloween Ends ad nauseum on this channel. I have videos where I talk all about it in my Halloween Ends playlist, so you can definitely go and check that out. But like I've said many times, I think there is some good in Halloween Ends. I like the Corey story, just not for the finale of this trilogy. I think, look, there are people out there that can't string two sentences together beyond, it sucks. And I just don't take those people seriously at all. You have to be able to compartmentalize your thoughts and dissect your thoughts, and hopefully articulate and intellectualize how you feel about it. And I've always said that I actually like the Corey story if it was an anthology piece. So if it was like the beginning of an anthology series, where Michael is dead and all that, he's gone, all that kind of stuff, and there's this guy named Corey and in this movie you do have Jamie Lee Curtis and Andy Matichak, and she starts dating this guy. Everything can stay the same. All the themes, the messages, the social commentary can literally stay the same. You don't need Michael Myers in this movie. There's a saying I heard, and I absolutely agree with it, that the movie was not bad, ironically, until Michael Myers showed up. You don't need him in this movie. He's useless. And I think it would be a more compelling story about a guy's psychological downfall because of what happened to him on Halloween night, and he's bullied and everything that's happening, and the town is bullying him, and Laurie sees what she saw before and she doesn't want him. Like, all that can stay the same. You don't need Michael Myers. And then you can say, what? But how does he? The switch. Well, the switch is just a psychological downfall. It is just the residual effects that he feels from the bullying and the constant belittling from the town, and how they never forgave him for what he did, despite that it was an accident. The town doesn't feel it was an accident. They feel that he murdered him, even though he got off and he was proven innocent. The town doesn't feel that way. You can really dive into that. You don't need Michael Myers at all. And then I think that's an interesting anthology story, maybe a movie, or maybe, a season of a series of Haddonfield or something. You know what I'm saying? But as the climax of this trilogy, no, it was an epic failure. It was an epic failure, in my opinion. Antonis Andriota says, I'm also hyped for Indiana Jones 5. I grew up watching all the movies, and I think Harrison Ford's best performance. I'm hyped too, man. I'm hyped too. And like I said, if you're somebody that watches the channels that are ripping into all this stuff all the time, I just feel that I don't mind channels, and I don't mind people. So if anybody from those channels sees this, I don't mind people who are really worried and dissecting and looking at stuff. And I don't mind that. I mean, that's fun. That's exciting. I get that. But it just feels that manufactured outrage is thriving so much online. It feels like again, the second you see one little thing or mention one thing, there's a 15-minute video about how Disney's shit, and it's like, and I get it. But then you look at the view count, 150,000 views, 80,000 views, you look at the comment section, and it's like, yeah, I mean, I get it. It's I mean, that's what gets them views. If they started talking nice about it or something positive, it doesn't get views. Hate gets views. Drama gets views. People love drama. It's why we watch things, we watch like things on YouTube, like restaurant fights and people getting into fights and family drama and why there was this, this appetite for reality TV back in the day, and I put it in quotes because a lot of reality isn't fully reality. It's also manufactured to a degree, but it's like this. We like watching people and situations that make us feel better about ourselves. You know, we like watching people that are in worse situations than us. You know, we like getting angry and fuck Disney and fuck this. And again, it's not that there isn't merit at all to what some of these channels are saying. It's just so saturated. You know, it just feels like, you know, Disney can't step outside and yawn without them going, ah! You know, and it's like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's like, calm down. Everything's going to be okay. Relax. You know, it's okay. So I'm with you. I'm excited about it. The only thing that I am worried about is I'm cautiously optimistic because it's James Mangold. And it's not that James Mangold doesn't have a miss here or there, but I'm cautiously optimistic because, you know, he's the director of Ford v. Ferrari, the director of Logan, the director of 3:10 to Yuma, the director of Copland. Did he also do, I think he also did he also did that movie? He did. The director of Walk the Line with Joaquin Phoenix and Reese Witherspoon. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, this is a solid, elite director, a elite Hollywood director, one of the best in the business, period. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't have a bad day at the office. It doesn't mean that everything they touch is going to turn to gold. But if you're going to replace the legendary Steven Spielberg, the greatest director in the history of the medium, James Mangold's a pretty fucking good choice. You know, it's not like it's, you know, me. You know, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Ah! You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, you know, it's a really good choice. And that's why when I see James Mangold come out and say, listen, those rumors about this and this and this and this, it's not true. I trust him. I believe him because of the kind of filmmaker he is, because of the work he's produced, because of the level that he's working at. Now, listen, I could be wrong. We could go see the movie and then everything, all those rumors are true. Harrison Ford dies. Phoebe Waller-Bridge is the new Indiana Jones. And we see her, you know, like in actual scenes from all Harrison Ford's movies. It's so absurd. Even for Disney, that's absurd. Even for Disney, that's absurd. And I just don't buy it. And James Mangold said, no, it's not true. Like, stop believing that shit. It's not. So, you know, I'm excited. The only thing that I'm worried about, again, you know, is it's not the CGI, like in and of itself. It's the, how much of this is going to be Harrison Ford? So now look, we know that Vic Armstrong was Harrison Ford's stunt double. I don't know if he's alive anymore, but obviously he's since retired. And Vic Armstrong was Ford's stunt double on all 3 Indiana Jones films. And as far as I know, and, you know, we know that some of those scenes are clearly not Harrison Ford because it's too dangerous. Like the guy going under the truck in Raiders, like he hooks his whip there and he's going under the truck. That's not Harrison Ford. We know that. For the most part, the guy being dragged behind the truck, it's not Harrison Ford. It's Vic Armstrong. Now, they did get Harrison Ford a little bit in close-ups. They actually put all the padding on him. They dragged him behind the truck just so he could lift his head up just a little bit so the audience could see that it's Ford and so that could get into your brain and be like, whoa, holy shit. It helps with the believability. But we know it, you know, the vast majority of that, we know it's not Harrison Ford. Okay. When Belloc looks back and sees the truck getting closer and closer, and you see Indy hanging onto the truck, it's not Harrison Ford. You know what I'm saying? Like, we know that. But somehow we let it go because Harrison Ford, not somehow, the reason we let it go is because Harrison Ford at that time was of an age where he could still do a lot of the physical acting. Harrison Ford said something, he said, I don't do stunts, I do physical acting. So physical acting, like not everything's a stunt, despite what the unions would lead you to believe. Not everything's a stunt. So, you know, there is such thing as physical acting. So like a tussle, right? You know, Harrison Ford gets into a tussle with a guy and he's pushed up against the wall and they're having a little bit of a tussle. Okay, you don't need a stunt guy for that. If you're 45, you don't need a stunt guy for that. Your bones, your muscles, your body, you're in good shape. But when you're 80, even something like physical acting may require a stunt double to step in because of how, not that he's feeble, but more brittle, Harrison Ford's body is at that age. And so my concern is, how much of, we know the big stunts is not going to be Harrison Ford, but it's not Harrison Ford in the other 3 movies anyway either. So it's not a fucking big deal. But the physical acting, right? Like how much of that is going to be, do you know what I mean? Like there's even, and I don't know, but at the end of the indie teaser, when the guy's like, who is this man? And he's like, I'm her godfather. And then he takes out the whip and he goes whoosh, whoosh, like this. You'll notice that when he goes up, it cuts to behind and we see Indy from behind go whoosh, and then come across like this. I don't know if that's Harrison Ford. Is that Harrison? Now, it might be, but is Harrison Ford capable of doing that with the whip anymore? Is he capable of doing it? Is it too much? They don't want him to pull out throw out his shoulder or his wrist or something. So they bring somebody in who's a lot younger, who knows how to work a whip, and they put deep fake, whatever. That's my concern, is how much of this is actually Harrison Ford or a couple of stunt guys that they're going to DH. Now, again, that shot in the teaser where Indiana Jones is on the horse and he pulls back, that deep fake was pretty bad. Yeah, I hope they tweak that between now and June. So we know that's not Ford, but would it have been Ford 30 years ago? Probably not. Well, maybe that might have been, but when the horse is racing through the parade, that wouldn't have been Ford 30 years ago either. Because there's a shot when Indy in Raiders, when he's following the truck, well, when Indy gets onto the truck, right? When he's on the horse and he jumps onto the truck in Raiders, that's not Harrison Ford. I guarantee you that's not Harrison Ford, right? That's Vic Armstrong. You know what I mean? So again, it's not about the stunts really. It's about the physical acting. Are we going to see physical acting where Harrison Ford gets into a bit of a tussle and so it helps to kind of even out all the other stuff? Because if we can tell that 90% of this movie is deep faked Ford, I'm sorry, even for me to suspend my disbelief, I don't know. So that's a little what I'm worried about. But according to the cast and crew, they said Ford was Ford is fucking bringing it on set. I'm like, okay, well, we'll see. So we'll see. But I'm excited nonetheless. And the reason why I'm excited nonetheless is because Harrison Ford, as I mentioned in my video, is one of the great legendary actors in the history of cinema. Okay, I mean, he is a modern day Humphrey Bogart, Clark Gable. He is that and I don't mean legendary in the ways that people just toss around the word. People toss around the words legendary and GOAT and, epic and all that kind of stuff way too loosely nowadays. I'm talking about a bona fide legend, a Hollywood Titan legend. He is a cultural icon. And, those kinds of movie stars are not really a thing anymore. And so if for any other reason, if you need any other reason to go see the movie, I guess is what I'm trying to say, go see it for that. It's his last role as Indiana Jones, one of the great cultural, cinematic character icons. I'm hits you in the hearts, right? Hits you in the feels or in the heart, in the feels. And it's like, this is it. This is it for him. I'm not saying it's his last movie ever, but in terms of a leading man in an action-oriented role as a lead, oh yeah, no, I doubt it. He's gonna start to scale back and do more drama now, I think, which of course is what he's doing with the Paramount Plus series or whatever it is. So I don't know. It's pretty cool stuff. I'm excited though, but that's what I'm cautiously optimistic about. Matthew Ferreira sends in $4.99. Thank you, buddy. He says, unfortunately, I got COVID. Oh, no. We'll stay inside, watch some Netflix, stay warm. But I was watching the old Godzilla films. Made me think if Ghidorah, or Ghidra, as it is in Japanese, I believe, wasn't introduced, would Godzilla still be a villain? That's a good question. I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of the old Godzilla movies in years, so I'm not really sure. I don't know. I'm not sure. It all depends, right? Because, I mean, those old cheesy Japanese 60s, 70s Godzilla films, he is sort of he's a savior, you know. They did make him more empathetic, or for us to feel more empathetic. And, but then along comes a direct sequel to the original called Godzilla Returns, or Godzilla 1984. The American version's Godzilla 1985. And he is the villain in that. But is he a villain though? I don't know, because I think he's just misunderstood. I don't think he's the villain. I think he's just a product of, it's like, is a grizzly bear a villain? A grizzly bear is not a villain. The grizzly bear is literally does not know any better. The grizzly bear is literally attacking you and killing you because it's trying to protect its cubs. So I don't think Godzilla is consciously thinking, I'm going to fuck up some humans, bitch. He's not thinking that, right, in those movies. And also it's a direct sequel to the original, which was, you know, the social commentary of that, of course, all about, you know, the Japanese and nuclear war and, you know, all that kind of shit of what the United States did. It was a warning. It was a warning, essentially, that if we misbehave, look what can come out. That's why Godzilla is nuclear, for those of you that don't know. But it was a warning, really, at the end of the day. And so, is he really a villain? I don't think so. I don't think he's ever really been a villain, no more than, you know, if a grizzly bear was to come into your home, yeah, I guess he's, in this situation, he's the villain and I gotta kill him. But he's not a villain. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not personal. You know, that's how I've always kind of seen it. But yeah, I got to watch some of those old Japanese Godzilla movies again. It's been a while. Aaron Click says, I guess in some scenes, the deep fake is a newer kind of technology used for Indy 5. They used actual footage of Harrison Ford for some of the de-aging. Yeah, so what they did is my understanding, the scenes where you're seeing Harrison Ford, where it looks amazing, that's not actual, like that itself is not footage from back then. Those are scenes that were never shot, but they took footage from back then and were able to, through the wizardry of technology, use that footage, use that face, map it somehow, composite, rotoscope, I don't know what the fuck they're doing, but and map it onto the actor for the scenes they shot now. And it just looks stunning. Like, it looks incredible. If I was in a coma and I woke up and you told me it was 1985 and this was the new Indiana Jones movie, I would believe that that's Harrison Ford now. Like, it is that good. It is that good. So yeah, it's not deep fake technology, but it's like it. You know, it's like a sister to it. You know, they've done something to map the actual face onto the actor. Actually, the actor may even be Harrison Ford. I don't know for sure, but it might be. Now, here's the thing. As I said on my video last Friday, it looks good in those 2-second snippets, but how, and maybe those scenes are only 2 seconds long, which, okay, well, then it's neither here nor there. No big deal. But if this is an actual scene that takes place, so when that bag comes off of his head, is there like a 2-minute interrogation scene where we see Indiana Jones talking to these Nazi officers? And what is it going to look like then, right? How does it look when he makes eye contact, right? Is there going to be like this uncanny valley thing happening? Or are we just going to be like, or are we going to be able to tell like a little bit, but we're going to be like, okay, I can kind of tell, like, I get it, but this is amazing. Like, this looks phenomenal. I'm totally, wow, holy shit, I'm in. This is like incredible. Or is it going to be like, it looked good when he just took the bag off in the teaser, but now that I see him talking and looking and moving and doing this and getting angry and whatever, still needs some work. I don't know, right? What is it going to look like then? Because if it looks as flawless as that 2-second snippet looked, and there is some sort of scene that's playing out, oh my God, it's almost scary. And what are they going to do with the voice too? Because obviously Harrison Ford's voice he's older now. He's got contrary to popular belief for some of our younger viewers who may have just grown up with Harrison Ford old. You always just think of him talking like this. He didn't always sound like that. He always had sort of a deeper kind of voice. But as you get older, obviously the muscles weaken, and it's not uncommon for some, older men to kind of get sounding a bit more gravelly. And of course he sounds that way. And, but obviously he can't sound that way in his 40s. So are they going to do what they did with James Earl Jones in the Obi-Wan series? I think that's probably what they're going to do. 100%. It wouldn't surprise me if the dialogue is limited. You will hear him speak to get that 1980s Han Solo, Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones voice. But it wouldn't surprise me if they're not deep, long conversations. It all depends on how perfect it is. Because when Vader spoke in the Obi-Wan series, it's in like little sentence chunks. He's not like having a monologue or something. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's going to be interesting though. It's going to be interesting. Lupo Music says, title tells me to drop burning questions. So that's right. Drop those burning questions, my man. I just have a new barbecue and I'd like to know how to cook. Joking. Sorry. It says, sorry, I don't have my fucking glasses on. Hey, I would have been like, hey, does anybody here know what you cooking? Steak, hamburgers, whatever it is. Joking. How much time took you to shoot It's Me, Billy? Thanks. It's Me, Billy so we arrived on the Sunday. And that's when we sort of, unloaded everything, settled in. And then our first day of shooting was on the Monday. So we shot Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So it was a 6-day shoot. The first 2 days were day shoots. And then the last 4 days were night shoots. So we would sleep in till noon or whatever. We were always up early because we were going over the shot list and talking with Greg and whatnot, even when the actors and the crew were asleep. But then call time was like 4 PM. And that's when we'd have like our breakfast, because when you're doing overnight shoots, when you're doing like a 4 PM to like a 4 or 5 AM, everything's backwards, right? So we'd have breakfast at like 4, we'd have lunch at like, 9 PM, and then we'd have dinner at like 3 AM or something. And it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be kind of like but actually it wasn't that bad. But yeah, it was a 6-day shoot, 6 12 to 14 hour days. I think there might've been, yeah. And we were really good. We were really good with our time because, you want to be respectful of your crew. You want to be respectful of your actors. And you have to keep to a schedule. I mean, this is, it's not like we're working with our buddies who we've known for years who are just gonna be like, nah, let's just keep going. You know what I mean? I mean, these are professionals that work in the business and they expect a certain standard. It's an indie shoot and they knew that. But one of the things that Bruce and I, again, as I've said so many times in the channel, we were so prepared and that resonated with the cast and the crew. So my advice to any independent filmmaker out there who is shooting at a certain level, be prepared as you possibly can. Cross all your T's, dot all your I's. Don't figure out how you're going to shoot something when you get to, listen, there's always room. Shit's going to happen. There's always going to be a moment where you might have to change something. But when you get to set, already the shots, the angles, what you're going to shoot. It's just a matter of setting everything up. The more prepared you are, the more likely your cast and crew will want to work for you when you need that extra half hour or when you need that extra hour. They don't have to. But, if everybody is getting along and we're getting together and they see how hard you're working and your cast and crew feels respected and acknowledged and well taken care of, then when there comes that moment that there usually always is on a film shoot where you're getting close to the end of the day and you just need that extra half hour, 9 times out of 10, your cast and crew will be like, let's do it. Let's just do it. We're here. Let's fucking do it, guys. Let's do it. Because they feel respected and acknowledged and they love working with you, and they know that you're not farting around and fucking around. And they know that you didn't need that extra half hour because you were farting around. You know what I mean? They know that it's just part of the process. So, anyways, I'm going off on a tangent as I always do. But yeah, 6-day shoot. 6-day shoot. Let me see here. Super chat comes in from Mad Mars, sends in $5, says Clint Eastwood did a movie in 2021. 90 years old. He was in bad shape and the movie was so bland. When he did Gran Torino in 2008, he was great though. Yes, I remember Gran Torino. Love that movie. That's a really good movie. Some of the acting from some of the actors is a little wooden sounding, but that's also because a lot of those kids were not real actors either. He wanted to go for like real, I don't know if they're even acting now, but he really wanted that authenticity. That's a good movie. And he even said at that time that it was going to be his last movie he ever acted in. Well, you know, famous last words. I think it's because he probably thought he was going to die, you know, because even back then he was like 77 or 8 or whatever the hell he was. He probably thought he was going to die. But yeah, he did. I didn't see that one. I know the one you're talking about. He looks really old. But look, Harrison Ford's in great shape, man. He's in great shape. I just hope that if there's some physical acting he can't do, and again, there's a difference between a stunt and physical acting. If you're being thrown out a window, or you're jumping out a window, or you're leaping onto a car, that's a stunt. If you're getting pushed up against a wall and throwing a punch, that's physical acting. You know, you do. I mean, listen, you can request the stunt person come in and do that if it's a complicated, choreography or whatever the case is, sure. But Harrison Ford has always prided himself on a lot of the physical acting is always him. You know, when he's getting tossed up or he's been thrown down or whatever the case is. I don't know if you can do that with him now. So is it just going to be Ford walking around, talking? That's him because we can see him. But anytime shit hits the fan and there's a little bit of physical whip throwing or something, it's somebody else? I hope not. And if it's true, if it is, I hope I never know about it. And I hope it looks seamless, that I can't even tell the difference. I have to be able to invest into the believability, or I have to be able to invest and believe that this 80-year-old man is doing some of this. Now, again, they're not stupid. They're not going to have him do something that's ridiculous. They're not going to have him do something that would be like, oh, come on. You know what I'm saying? I think age is going to play into it, which is good. I like that. All right. I think I got all the super chats so far. Believe so. I don't think I've missed any, which is good. Let's see here. Guitarist Dog 87 says, Dave, if Sean Connery wasn't available as Henry Jones Sr., how do you think Gregory Peck would have done? That's Harrison Ford's favorite actor. Oh, really? I didn't know that. Oh, wait. Yes. I think I did know that. How would Gregory Peck have done? You know what? At that time, or Anthony Quinn, maybe? Gregory Peck or even Anthony Quinn. Though Anthony Quinn doesn't quite look like he'd be Harrison Ford's dad. But Gregory Peck, how would Gregory Peck have done? I think it would have been interesting. I would have been open to it. Yeah, why not? Evil Alex says Eastwood, Harrison Ford, Nicholson, Kurt Russell, Arnold, Stallone, Jackie Chan, all old legends we're going to miss in the next decade probably. It's true. Now, the names you said there, I would say, yes, Eastwood, Harrison Ford, Nicholson, Arnold and Stallone, definitely legends for sure. Kurt Russell, I would say there's an argument to be made that he's a Hollywood legend. I would say so, but he's not on the same level as like a Ford or an Eastwood or a Nicholson. And again, I'm not saying he's a bad actor. I love Kurt Russell. He's one of my favorite actors, but I'm talking about filmography. I'm talking about cultural and pop cultural zeitgeist and impact, all that kind of stuff, right? It depends on what we're measuring, right? Jackie Chan would be at the bottom of that list for me. But he's certainly a legend in his own right in a specific area, for sure. Not really he's a cultural phenomenon. he's a cultural phenom because he did a lot of his own stunts. And that's sort of what I mean, you had to see the next Jackie Chan movie because you were just in awe with the amount of shit that he was doing on his own. But in terms of his movies themselves, his movies haven't necessarily really penetrated the pop culture zeitgeist in the same ways and on the same levels as those other actors did, right? So it all depends on what we're measuring. But yeah, for sure. Okay, let me scroll back here. Aaron Click says, Rogue One's deepfake was okay if they hadn't lingered on those characters as long as they did. It was pretty good, but something told your brain it's off after about 30 seconds. Yeah, you could tell. I mean, it's hard for me to get excited. It's like the end of Mandalorian season 2 when Luke shows up. There were so many people losing their minds, and I'm like, but it doesn't even it looks like a computer game, Luke. You know, like I wouldn't be losing my mind over that. I thought Luke's introduction at the end of The Force Awakens was far more moving, you know, because it was actually Mark Hamill, and it was Mark Hamill old, and he looked so sad and worried and defeated. And it was like, wow, you know, what's this? Wow, what's this going to mean? Thanks, Rian Johnson. But with Luke at the end of Mandalorian season 2, I just kind of found it, because it's that uncanny valley. You know, I'm like, oh, this is not, you know, I thought, and again, I haven't watched the whole thing, but I think it was the Book of Boba Fett, right? Where he was in that as well. I thought that was way better because there was I think they used a different actor. I'm not sure, but that was incredible. That was incredible. So I'm hoping Indiana Jones 5 is more like that, you know, and less like Luke and the Mandalorian. Mike Johnson says, Dave, have you ever thought about running a marathon? I ran one this year. Very cool. Not an impressive time, but I did it. I know you are a runner. Ever thought about doing one? I've often thought about it. You know, I've never ran one. I mean, every time I go for a run, I run 7K every time I go for a run. So I'm always, you know, running 5Ks every week. But a marathon is 26 miles. That's about 40 something kilometers. It's having to work up to it, right? Like, you know, you'd have to, you know, I don't want to train for it, work up to it. Not that I think I was going to, there's no way I'd win, but I would want to feel, yeah, it's a lot, you know, it's a lot. I've thought about it, but it's not a burning thing for me to care enough about to actually do. I mean, I've been jogging since I was 16 years old, and I've jogged, I mean, thousands of miles. I mean, granted, it's not all together, but I've estimated over the nearly 30 years I've been doing it that I've jogged like thousands of miles, 50,000 miles or something like that. I mean, it's just, you know, because you think, I mean, if I'm jogging on average 3 days a week, 5K, I mean, you know, for 25 years, it's a long time. Now, again, I say on average, because obviously there's some weeks in there where I didn't, or a month I had to take off because I was hurt, or, you know, whatever, right? But on average, it's thousands of miles. So, but yeah, no, I haven't, but you never say never. You never say never. Savannah Christina Heffron says, will Dylan's new Nightmare trailer be long or short, and when is it coming? I have no idea. My understanding that it'll probably come, I don't know, February, maybe March. I'm not entirely sure, and I don't know how long it will be. Again, I'm not a producer on the project. I'm just an actor. So a lot of those nitty-gritty details is something you'd have to send Cecil Laird's way of the horror show. He obviously would know more than I would. So I'm not really sure, but my understanding is somewhere around there. Oh, there you go. Robert the Wolfman, who was part of our crew. There you go. He says, Savannah, the trailer for DNN will only be a minute or two, no longer than that. Not sure when they'll have the trailer yet. Well, there you go. There you go. Robert obviously would know way better than I would, because he's very connected to Cecil and what's going on there. So there you go. Very cool. Let's see here. Frank Riker, my man. Great to see Frank here. Just scrolling back. Just trying to look for some questions I haven't got yet, or just some interesting ones. Mike Johnson says, I don't like Robert De Niro as a person, but as an actor, he was probably one of the best in the past. I would say he and Al Pacino are the GOATs. They're definitely up there for sure. I like Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. I mean, I don't really know them as people, but I don't know them at all as people, but I certainly like them as actors. Yeah, I've always liked. I think I'm more of a De Niro guy than Pacino guy, but I like Pacino as well, obviously. Yeah, I mean, they will go down as one of, two of the greats for sure. Absolutely, 100%. Okay. Mad Cod 114 says, just saw Kurt Russell play Santa Claus in a Netflix movie last night. Did a great job. Yeah, that's called the, is it the Christmas Chronicles or something like that? My girlfriend and I watched that a couple of years ago when it came out, just because I like Kurt Russell. And it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Haven't watched the Christmas Chronicles 2. I think that's what it's called, right? The Christmas Chronicles. They did a sequel. Because at the end of that first one, Goldie Hawn shows up, obviously, which is a cute, obviously they're, a real life couple. So that was kind of cute that she showed up as Mrs. Claus. And then the sequel is, she's in it a lot. Like it's all about kind of them and whatnot. So I never watched the sequel, but I did watch, the first one. And I love Kurt Russell. My favorite Kurt Russell movie, there's two movies that are my favorites. Overboard. I adore that movie with him and Goldie Hawn. I think that's just such a cute, funny, silly, like get out of here, seriously kind of comedy. And Breakdown, the 1997 or 8 movie Breakdown. I fucking love that movie. If you haven't seen the Kurt Russell movie Breakdown, if you've watched me for any length of time, you know I'm a big fan of that film. Love that movie. Breakdown is a great film. Those are my two favorite Kurt Russell movies. And then after that, it'd be like The Thing, and then like, Escape from New York, Big Trouble Little China, maybe somewhere in there. But whenever I think of Kurt Russell, I think of Overboard and Breakdown. Fucking love it. Fucking love it. Southpaw 82 says, Dave, I recently watched a Kurt Russell film, Executive Decision. Yes, great thriller action movie. Dude, I totally forgot about that movie. I saw that movie in the theater when it came out. Yes, I always forget about that one. Steven Seagal is in that for like 10 minutes. John Leguizamo, I think, is in that as well. That's a good movie. That's a really good mid-90s action movie. I like that movie a lot. Yeah, that is definitely one of my favorite Kurt Russell films, for sure. Hands down. It's a good thriller. If you haven't seen Executive Decision, what is it, like 95, 96, somewhere around there? I think it's 96. Because I think GoldenEye was 95. Hey, Google, what year did Executive Decision come out?
In the United States of America, Executive Decision was released on March 15th, 1996.
Yeah, 96, I was right. I saw that with Bruce. I saw that was with Bruce. I love that movie. Thanks for reminding me of that movie. That's a really good film. I mean, it's a 90s action movie. Zach Axiola says, thoughts on the premise of Scream 6 basically being Ghostface takes Manhattan. Does the change in location and hearing it's going to be more action and gore heavy interest you? Not really. It doesn't disinterest me. It doesn't interest me. Again, like I said at the top of the show, Zach, the only Scream movie I really like is the first one. All the others I think are just are lesser recycled versions of that first one. I'm not saying they're bad movies. I'm just saying it's a Scream movie. And I think the first one does what every other Scream movie does the best. So, a change in location, like I said, it's either going to be a breath of fresh air, it's going to be exactly what the Scream franchise needs, and it's going to reinvent itself, but while still being a Scream movie, or it's going to fall by the wayside where a lot of these things happen. Like I said, you have Rob Zombie's Halloween in 2007. He he did his own thing, but it was still very much kind of had that Halloween thing. And then he goes off and does a sequel that's completely different. And you see that with The Force Awakens, very much Star Wars. And you see that with Halloween 18, we're kind of playing it safe a little bit, playing it safe basically. And then Halloween Kills. And, sometimes it works. A lot of the times it doesn't. So they did Scream 5. Scream 5 felt very much like a Scream movie, had all those beats, nostalgia. You know, you had Sidney Prescott, you had Dewey, you had Gale, you know, and it's in the town there. Why am I blanking on the town? Woodsboro. You know, and they played it safe. They played it safe to get everybody back on board. And now they're doing their own thing. And I applaud them, because if you don't, you're just going to make another Scream movie. But at the same time, you don't want to stray too far away, because you don't want to alienate an audience. So it's really about that balance. I don't know. It doesn't interest me. It does not interest me. You know, I'll watch it because it's, you know, everybody's going to be watching it. And everybody's going to be asking me about it. So I'll watch it. And I'm curious. But yeah, there's always a high probability that this could be a jumping of the shark movie where they go, yeah, I get what they were going for, or it could just be like, wow, Ghostface in New York City. Yes. I don't know. I'll wait. I reserve judgment until I see that trailer. I got to see that trailer when it comes out. And it's got to be coming soon, because the movie comes out in March, April or something. So it's probably already locked. It's just waiting for release. Oh yeah, that's not bad. Chester Franklin Jr. says, Dave, have you seen Tango and Cash with Kurt Russell and Sylvester Stallone? Yep. That's not bad. It's not a great movie. I don't think of that movie when I think of Kurt Russell films, I guess, because, you know, it's like a buddy cop film, I guess. But yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. It's all right. It's all right. It's watchable for sure. And the dynamic and the chemistry between them is good. Whenever I think of that movie, I just see the naked asses of Kurt Russell and Sylvester Stallone walking away from the camera. You know, that scene where they're in the showers and they're in jail, they have to walk. That's what I think of. It's funny, but it's true. Tango and Cash, naked asses. Just one and the same. That's what happens. Eddie Chase sends in $5. Thank you, Eddie. And says, if they ever do remake Nightmare on Elm Street, would you audition for Freddy? Your voice is great, and hopefully enough people watch to gain steam. Yes. I wouldn't audition. I wouldn't just audition for it. Like, you can't, like, unless it's an open casting call, you know, that is calling for people. That's one thing. But just because they're making another Elm Street film and they're looking for the role of Freddy, it could be, whoever they hire as their casting director could be specifically targeting certain agencies, right? They would probably be targeting WME, you know, they'd probably target, I think it's CAA, which is one of the big ones there as well. I mean, they're going to target, like, they're going to do their own search. I don't think it would be an open casting call. So would I have the opportunity to audition for Freddy is really the question. I don't know. But like I've said on this channel, Dylan's New Nightmare, because of the way that we went about it, because of there is no better audition for Freddy than what I was a part of. That doesn't mean that I'm going to be the next Freddy officially. Of course not. I mean, the competition is fierce. The probability is always low when we talk about show business. But I had, like, Dylan's New Nightmare was such a great audition for the role. And because there I am, I mean, what other actor, you know, very few people have the opportunity to sit in a makeup chair with Nora Hewitt, who's applying prosthetic makeup to my face that was molded by a Hollywood effects artist, Mikey Rotella, who worked on the most recent Predator, and he did the actual mold, you know. And then, of course, you got Nora Hewitt, who's bringing it to life with all the effects and makeup and everything. And again, this isn't a mask. This is prosthetic silicone makeup. Prosthetic latex, I believe. I'm in the chair for like 4 hours. You know, we're doing it old school. How many people have that opportunity? Not called Robert Englund. Very few, you know? So to have that, and then to be playing opposite Miko Hughes, who's an Elm Street alum, you know, being on a soundstage in that environment with other filmmakers and actors, and, you know, working opposite Ron Sloan from Friday the 13th 5, and you know, I mean, you know, it's such a there's no better way to audition. So if anything, there's the audition, right? Dylan's New Nightmare will be the audition. You know, it's not just going based on a look or my headshot or walking into a casting audition where I have to, you know, read some sides with, you know, another actor and you get the full thing. You get the full thing. You know, you see it. So, again, that doesn't mean anything's going to happen, but I'm very fortunate to have had that opportunity, and to lay it out there like that. So, but I mean, if the call ever came, would I take that call? 100%. 100% I would take that call. Absolutely. It would lift my career up. It would open so many doors. I mean, the call to play him, the call to audition him, I'd still do it, of course, if they called me to, you know, audition. But if they wanted me to play him, of course I would do it. It would open so many doors. You know, not just as an actor, but as a filmmaker as well. And even as a voice actor, you know, so it's for sure. I mean, I've had such wonderful success as a voice actor, and I don't take anything for granted at all. And, you know, to have an opportunity to play that role and to open even more doors along the way in other parts of the entertainment industry, because the entertainment industry is a big industry, right? You know, when you say the entertainment industry, which is what I'm a part of course, that includes voiceover and on-camera acting and filmmaking, the music side as well, right? You know, the music side of the industry is part of the entertainment industry, and it includes the studio executive, you know, that side of the industry, the business side of the industry. And it's a big industry. It's a small industry, but it's a big industry. So to be able to flex muscles and have more doors open for me in other parts of the entertainment industry, it's fucking amazing. Of course, are you kidding? A chance to play Freddy Krueger? Done! Sign me up. Sign me up. It would be amazing. Thanks, Eddie, for the super chat. Really appreciate it, buddy. Matthew Ferreira sends in $1.99 and says, thoughts on Kurt Russell as Ego. As Ego? I don't know. Thoughts on Kurt Russell's ego? Does he have an ego? He's always seemed like such a humble guy to me. Or I don't know who Ego is. Is that the name of a character? I have no idea who you're talking about. Sorry, Matthew. I just don't know who you're talking about. Oliver Mercer sends in £5 and says, would you be for or against a new Jaws film if Spielberg came back? If Spielberg came back, I would be for it. Other than that, I'm not no completely. I don't think we're at a level yet where CGI sharks convince me. Because you know that's what they're going to do. And Jaws is not a shark movie. I mean, it's a shark movie, but it's about characters. It's about, it just, I don't know. It's the same reservations I have about The Exorcist, right? In today's climate, in today's world, remakes tend to go bigger, bolder, badder, gorier, more entertaining, over the wall, off the top. Over the top, off the wall. I said over the wall, off the top. Whew. Over the top, off the wall. Because they need to entertain, because people's attention spans are fucking useless. Nobody can sit for 5 minutes. What's going on? I'm not being entertained. You know what I mean? It's like, fuck, just shut up and sit and, you know what I mean? I find it so frustrating. But anyway, so if there's not an explosion or blood spewing out all over the place in the first 5 minutes of a movie, you get a certain section of the population that's like, you know what I'm saying? It's really sad. But Jaws is a yes, I know it's classified as a horror movie, but it's got real drama to it. It's got real character development to it, and you can't lose that. It's like The Exorcist. You can't lose that part of The Exorcist. It's about drama. It's about Damien who loses his faith and who sacrifices himself to save a girl he's never met. And oh my God. And he's never, as I've said many times, he never met Reagan. When he first met Reagan was already, possessed, was already Pazuzu. I mean, she was already, you know what I'm saying? And he sacrifices himself at the end of the film to save a girl he's never met. And he questions his faith. He feels guilty about his mother. And then he got, I mean, it's a whole thing. It's not just spinning heads and green slime. There's real deep-seated shit there. And there's stuff like that in Jaws as well. So remaking Jaws, I would be afraid that a remake of Jaws would be like just watching a Hollywood blockbuster shark movie where we see the shark, we see it often, we see it very clearly. You know, there's a lot of death, there's a lot of blood, you know, and I'm not saying it can't be a fun time at the movies, but if that's what it's going to be, I'm out. I'm out. Let's see here. Yes, Andrew Stevens, my great mod, says, get those likes up. Yeah, everybody, there's 113 people in the chat. Hit that like button. It costs you nothing, and it helps the algorithm for the channel. Let's see if we can get up to, I mean, I know it's probably unrealistic to expect all 114 of you to hit the like button because people just don't like being told what to do, but maybe we can get it to 50. If we can get it to 50 likes, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. And then we'll see where it goes from there. Jake Blair says, Dave, I'm thinking about going to Texas Frightmare weekend next year to try and meet John Carpenter. If you could ask him anything, what would you ask? If I could ask John Carpenter anything, what would I ask? This is so you can ask him it and claim it as yours, right? I'm just messing with you. Well, I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head, but if I was meeting somebody like John Carpenter, I would want to make it a question that is not something he probably has ever heard of. So John Carpenter, and I love John Carpenter. We love John. We do. But, you know, he's grumpy. He's grumpy. And you would be too if you heard the same things over and over again and got asked the same questions over and over again. Now, because I do hear, I get asked and hear the same questions over and over again. But, and maybe I'll feel differently when I'm 74 like him. I'm still only 43. But I always do my best to answer questions like it's the first time. Because it's always like I will often get asked a lot, Dave, why do you say this all the time? Or why do you keep saying this? Or why do you keep saying that? And depending on what it is they're asking, I will often, respond by saying, well, it might be the 800th time you've heard me say it, but that's because you watch everything I do. But my video, whatever video it is, whether it's one I upload, a live stream, this live stream right now, it's somebody's first time watching me. So it's always somebody's first time hearing it. So my job is to answer it as if it's the first time. And I always keep that in mind, right? It's always somebody's first time tuning in or watching. And so John Carpenter, he's probably been asked the same things a lot. What was it like to work on Halloween? What was it like to work with Jamie Lee Curtis? What was it like to work with Donald Pleasance? What was it like? And at his age, he's, could he be a little nicer? Maybe, sure. Because maybe this is the first time this person's heard you say it, right? But for me, I wouldn't want to go in with questions like that because he's likely to say something like, oh, it was great. It was great. It's just amazing. He was great. What was it like to work with Donald Pleasance? Oh, he was amazing. Brilliant. You want to get somebody talking. I always remember my father, who some of you may not know, was a Canadian journalist and columnist here in Canada, one of the top in the country for many years. So I grew up in a media family, and I'll never forget my dad. He was covering the Ottawa Senators. Now he dabbled in, he was a sports writer for many years of his life. And then in the mid-90s, the mid-90s, he was, now when I say a sports writer, I don't mean just like somebody doing the scores on the 6 o'clock news. I mean like writing feature articles on like athletes, and it was like a real thing, like Sports Illustrated shit. You know what I'm saying? So I'll never forget this time. I think it was the late 90s. I don't know why he was there, because at this time in his career, he was doing a general interest column where he was writing about all sorts of stuff. I guess that makes sense then. I guess he felt the need to go and write about this. But he was at an Ottawa Senators game. Now, for you Americans who aren't into hockey, just pretend I'm talking about football. He was at an Ottawa Senators game. The Ottawa Senators are an NHL hockey team here in Canada, obviously. And the goalie was a guy, he was an American goalie, one of the top American goalies to ever play, by the name of Tom Barrasso. And he was playing for the Senators at this time, and you could tell he was getting because a lot of reporters ask the same things. What's it like out there? What do you think you need to do? So you're down 3-0. What do you guys need to do? It's the same fucking shit all the time. And that's why you'll hear a lot of this say, well, we got to get down there. We got to do this. It's just the same shit. And Tom Barrasso, I don't know if whatever mood he was in some sort of fucking mood. And, my dad, being the inquisitive guy that he is, and the veteran that he was at that time. My dad, came up through the golden age of journalism through the 60s, and he's met the Beatles and all that kind of stuff. So my dad, being the guy that he was, yelled out from the back and asked Tom Barrasso about the Elian Gonzalez. Do you remember him? He was a little boy that escaped from Cuba or something and wound up in Miami or something like that. It was a big story 20-something years ago. And my dad, from the back of the room, everybody was asking him the same fucking questions. And Tom was just going, yep, nope, I don't know. He was just, you could tell, he was like, oh, God, guys, come on. And my dad at the back went, Tom, what do you think of the Elian Gonzalez thing? And Tom was like, who said that? He's like, it's me here. I just want to know your thoughts on it. It's a big thing right now. I'm just curious on what your thoughts are. How do you feel? It had nothing to do with hockey. And all the reporters were like, what the fuck is Earl McRae doing? What's going on? Tom Barrasso got up, walked over, sat down with my dad. They talked for 25 minutes about the Elian Gonzalez thing. What a story. Tom Barrasso, legendary NHL goalie, talking about, what I'm saying? Now, I'm not saying you have to do that and say, John, what do you think of the political climate in the White House? I'm not saying you say something unrelated. I'm not saying that. I'm using this story as an example of something that was off the cuff. It was something that was a question he's never been asked, right? And it got his attention, And so a guy who's known to be grumpy and kind of suddenly came to life a little bit and wanted to talk about something. So for me, if I was in front of John Carpenter, I wouldn't ask him what it was like to work with Jamie Lee. I can fucking YouTube that shit. I can watch interviews of him talking about that. I don't need to have him say what I already know. I would think of something that maybe talk to him about Dark Star, or talk to him about, what was it like, his USC days, or something that he's not been asked, or look at a couple of interviews with John, because they're all over online, and look at what the interviewer is asking, and oh, you know what? They never asked that. I've watched 4 interviews with John Carpenter, and he's never been asked that. I wonder, if I asked him, would he come to life a little bit, or would there be a little bit of a conversation? Now, again, it depends on the situation, right? If you're standing at his table, you're not a reporter. To be fair, my dad was a columnist. My dad was a reporter. It's a different situation. It's a different environment. I understand that. I get that. You're not likely to be able to talk to John Carpenter for 20 minutes, right? Because there's people in line. They want to get autographs. They want to get pictures. They want to ask questions. You probably only have a minute, right? I get that. But make that minute count. Think of something that nobody has asked before. Think of something that is different, and listen, it doesn't mean he's going to come to life. It doesn't mean he's going to go, oh, hey, that's a good question. It doesn't mean that. Maybe he'll just be a grumpy SOB like he usually seems like he is. But I know for sure, if you ask him, what was it like to work with on Halloween? What was it like to work with, try and think. I would stay away from Halloween for sure. If you can, if there's something you desperately need to know, hey, listen, this is your one chance. Do it. Ask whatever you want. But if you can, I'd stay away from Halloween, because he always gets asked about Halloween, right? So think of something like, I don't know, ask him about something in regards to In the Mouth of Madness, or a movie he never gets asked about, or something, you know what I mean? Just something that would inspire him to engage a little bit, Again, because of the environment, you're only going to have a certain amount of time, but so I don't know what that would be off the top of my head, because I'd have to think about it, but that's my level of thinking. If I was ever in front of John Carpenter, I would be like, okay, this has got to count, because I'm not going to ask him something that I can do a quick YouTube search in 38 seconds and find. You know what I'm saying? But you do you. You do you. You do you. Some super chats came in here. Let's, got the Oliver Mercer one. Frank Zaragoza, am I saying that right? Sends in $5, says, Dave, it's all capitals. You're yelling, Frank, you're yelling. What are your thoughts about shooting on film as opposed to digital? I understand the reasons behind shooting digitally, but I prefer film. Well, I've only shot on film twice in my life, and it was in film school. Both were 16 millimeters, so I've never shot on 35. And this is like 23 years ago. So my knowledge of film has begun to go away because I didn't keep up with it. I didn't, when I went to film school, because it was the late 90s, I think we were like the last kind of class that was really, like, I'd be surprised if the same program I did now was doing anything on. I mean, maybe they have like a semester where they teach you the fundamentals of of how to, load film into the camera and how to process. I mean, maybe, but I'd be very surprised now if they spend as much time on shooting, because I shot a film, a half-hour film on 16 mil. And like, it was like my film for my first year. I still have it. I don't have it digitized, but I still have like the reel, and you can kind of take it up and look at, the frames and the, and the light, and you can see the shots. I'd be very surprised if they spend that much time on it now. It's gotta be all digital. No? I mean, wouldn't it be? I don't know. Anyway. So certainly shooting on film, there's a certain look. Film purists will definitely point that out. The average moviegoer, though, I don't think can tell the difference. There are films today still being shot on film. Was The Force Awakens shot digitally? It might have been shot on film. I don't know. Was The Force Awakens shot digital? It all depends, right? It depends on the processing. It depends on the because a lot of film is shot on film, but then it's digitally transferred, for editing and all that kind of stuff. Like they're not editing on Steinbeck's anymore, I don't think anyway, which we did. It's where you got the film on the spools, and you're actually cutting the film. Like you are actually cutting the film where you want to edit and taping it together. That's how it was done. So I don't know if they're doing that anymore. I don't think they are. I think everything is digitally, converted. Can you tell? Can I tell? Yes, but it depends on the movie. Now, movies that are shot on 16, you can really tell. There's a real grain. There's an aesthetic there. I think Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, I think, might have been shot on 16, if I'm not mistaken. I think, but I could be wrong on that. You can tell. But at the end of the day, digital has come so far now. And, it's so easy now to replicate the film look digitally. Again, purists will tell you, no, there's still something. And I get it. And to be fair, there is a quality, there is a look that's definitely there in film that isn't quite there in digital, but it's so close now. It's so close now that the average moviegoer doesn't even notice the difference. And if you were to say something, this is, was shot on film, they go, I didn't, looks like every movie I will watch. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like we're kind of beyond, it's not like in the late 90s, early 2000s, because I think like The Phantom Menace was shot on film, but I think Attack of the Clones was the first entire feature film to be shot digitally. And you can notice a difference between The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. But that difference now is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, in my opinion anyway. So it's really expensive to shoot on film because of all the processing and you buy film by the foot. Of course, that's where the term footage comes from. It's very expensive. It's far cheaper to shoot digitally. And if you know how to craft your shots and craft your lighting, and really take your time, you can dish out digitally shot movies that look spectacular. I'm trying to say that have all the mood and the atmosphere and the visual aesthetic that you want and need. So Eddie Chase sends in $5, says, Resurrection has more rewatch value than Ends. I can appreciate it as a standalone, but I've never been so disappointed. Sad because DGG films are shot well. Well, you're not alone in that camp, man. You're not alone in that camp. There's a lot of people that feel the same way as you. A lot of people feel the same way as you, Eddie. Cinemagic sends in 20 Norwegian dollars? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But thank you very much. Says, have you seen the new movie Troll? I have not seen the new movie Troll. But I watched a movie the other day called The Vanishing with Gerard Butler, based on a true story about these lighthouse keepers who vanished in like 1900 or something. And there's speculation of what happened to them, but they just vanished. And so this story tells that story, and obviously nobody knows what happened to them, so the story that is playing out in the movie is fictional, but it's riveting. It's really well done. The performances are great. Gerard Butler's fantastic. The other two actors are great. If you haven't seen The Vanishing, it's called The Vanishing, and it's a psychological thriller. Watch it. It's really good. The ending, I thought, could have been maybe a little stronger, but watch it. It's a really good film. Really good film. I really enjoyed it. So I have not seen Troll, but The Vanishing is the most recent movie that I watched. Matthew Ferreira sends in $1.99, says, Ego is the villain in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Oh, I haven't seen a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. I've never heard of this Ego character, or Ego, I'm assuming, because it's EGO. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know who. I don't even know what he looks like. Sorry about that. I know. See, I'm not dialed into the comic book genre like a lot of you guys are. Okay, let's see here. Roselia, is it? Or Rosalia, I think, right? Rosalia, I think is how you say that. Zurita, is that how you say it? Rosalia Zurita? I just saw the commentary for Halloween and The Thing. Speaking to Chester. Very cool. Was it good? I hope so. Let's see here. Okay, I got all the super chats. I think I did anyway. Just scrolling back here. Robert the Wolfman says, I wish I'd gotten a picture of Dave in the Freddy makeup chowing down on chili. Would have been great. BTS. Yes. That was, was that the, I think that was before Nora put on the chin piece though, right? So at least I had a little bit of flexibility. Even with that, even like I was very thankful because the first day I had to eat with everything on. The next 2 days we were smart and Nora didn't put on the chin piece till after I had eaten. But even without the chin piece there, it's still difficult because you got this, this prosthetic latex makeup glued to your face. You can't, even with the no chin piece, I couldn't open my mouth as wide as I wanted to be able to chew. And you're getting shit on the makeup, which is no big deal. Because Nora was like, hey, don't worry about it. We're going to clean it up. I'll touch it up. No big deal. Just go fucking eat your dinner. So she's great. She's so amazing. But it was still kind of hard to eat the chili. But I did. I managed to get some and fantastic chili, by the way. For those of you that don't know, Robert was our cook for the entire week. Robert, you are a great cook. There's some shit in there that I wish I didn't have the makeup on so I could enjoy and savor it more. But I was so worried about the shit getting on my face and, it's great stuff, man. All right. Let me see here. Unimpressive Media says, Dave, if your dad was still here, would you invite him on the show? If so, what would you talk about? Oh, totally. I've thought about that a lot. You guys would have loved my father. My father was very charismatic, very outgoing. I've often been asked if I ever had a mentor in my life or who was my inspiration. And to be honest, there's nobody I've never had a mentor. I've never had anybody like Harrison Ford's my favorite actor. And I think I've always, I can't say I've looked up to him, but I've always loved Harrison Ford and his movies and his mannerisms and his story, but I don't know him personally, so he's not a mentor. Spielberg, obviously my favorite filmmaker, but again, I don't know him personally, so he's not a mentor. But if there was one person that has inspired me, that I take from, that I think the nature versus nurture thing, where just because for the first 10 years of my life, I lived with my mom. And then in the summer of 1989, I wasn't getting along with my stepdad. My stepdad and my mom, I don't hold it against her at all, but my mom thought that maybe it would be better if I went to live with my dad. So instead of like, leaving her husband or saying, stop being a dick to my child, I went to live with my father. And years later, when I became an adult, my mother, I think, regretted that a lot because she saw that she shouldn't have done that. I think she saw it as choosing Bob over me. Bob was the name of her husband. And by the way, I have no issues with Bob now. He's still alive. He's off somewhere. I don't know where he is, but I have no ill feelings towards Bob. It was a tough time. And he wasn't abusive to me or anything like that. It was more about sort of conflict of personalities, I guess. And but he was never abusive, verbally, physically, nothing like that. It was just personality conflicts. And I was young, I was 10 but I never held that against my mother. I was like, Mom, her reasoning was that, I loved my dad. Like I loved being with my dad when he'd come to visit or he'd come to Toronto for work or whatever and being with my dad. I loved being with my dad. So my mother thought, well, why not go live with your dad? You know what I mean? And so that's what I did in the summer of 89. And, so I was 10 years old. So growing up through that, like a very impressionable age, and obviously being with my dad when he'd come to visit when I was young, being with my mom. My dad was a ham. My dad, all the voices I do and the personality I have and the crazy antics, that's my father. That's my father. And back in the day, it really helped my dad. Like you can't do this kind of thing anymore because of, security cameras and protocols. And it's just not the same anymore. But in the olden days of journalism, you could sneak into places. You could pretend to be people that you weren't. You could, and it was just, you could do that kind of shit in the 60s and in the 70s, right? And my dad was a genius with that kind of stuff. My dad would say, geez, throw on a hard hat and keys on your belt and you look like you're important. It's true. It's true. You can't do that anymore. It's a different time, a different world. But my dad was very cool. And so I think just by living with my dad and being a part of my father's life and hanging out with him and I just, that nature versus nurture kind of thing was happening. And so I was always inspired by my dad and my dad's funny voices he could do. And my dad used to do prank calls back in the 70s, long before there was Call Display or Star 69 or whatever. There are audio cassette tapes of my dad pranking his friends. His friends didn't know it was him, calling the newspaper, calling restaurants. And I'm not talking about, hey, is your refrigerator on? I'm not talking about dumb shit like that. I'm talking about real, like he'd get into character and it would be so silly and absurd. And I did that, when I was in college. I was like the last, like it was on the cusp of like, you can't do that anymore because there was still no like back in the day, you could do it and nobody would know any different. When I did it in college, I recorded myself doing some prank calls, a certain, thing. Oh, it was so fun. And cell phones were around, but smartphones weren't, and social media was not. So again, it was just at the cusp of not being able to do that anymore. But anyway, so the point I'm trying to make is, because you asked a question, is that yes, I definitely would have had my dad on. And I might have even asked my dad if he wanted to do a show. I might have even, because my dad was a seasoned veteran, reporter and journalist. Maybe I'd say, Dad, you want to come on and, and just have I don't know what would have happened. I have no idea. But certainly as a guest, having my dad on, yes, 100%. And you guys would have loved him. You guys would have loved him. He was so full of knowledge too. Like if you ever had any questions about, Elvis Presley or the Beatles or that time period, journalism and newspapers and just like history, right? Like, cultural history. Oh, there's no better person to have on than my father. He just was a plethora of knowledge. But yeah, it sucks. It sucks that he's not here. Jason Stillwell sends in $5, says, who makes it back to the big screen first, Jason or Freddy? I say Jason, probably, because you have the Crystal Lake series coming next year, I think, anyway. And Jason will be part of it in some form. Now, if you mean hockey mask adult Jason, I don't know. But I think you're going to see Jason in the TV series. Matthew Ferreira sends in $4.99 and says, also, apparently, there are a lot of people who hate on monkeys, specifically... I don't know how to specifically Macus. Is that how you say that? And want to torture them because the monkeys are evil. Are you referring to something like we were going back talking about the Godzilla thing? Is that what you're talking about? Because I'm not sure. I'm not sure what this is in relation to. Unless, hang on, let me go back here because you had something else. Ego is Guardians Galaxy 2. Yeah, I'm not sure what you're referring to there. But thank you for the super chat, Matthew. Just at me and clarify, and then I'll know what you're talking about. Let's see here. Aaron Click says, it's funny how some movies act like you can still easily fake your way in certain situations posing as someone else. I mean, it's possible still, but very unlikely. Yeah, for sure. Oh, for sure. And that's kind of the reality of it. I mean, my dad didn't do that kind of stuff in the later part of his life. He died in 2011. But certainly like in the 60s and the 70s. And yeah, there was it also wasn't just done. It was encouraged, like whatever to get the story, and I mean, my dad met the Beatles that way. My dad got up to their hotel room and knocked on the door, I forget who he pretended to be now. He pretended to be somebody, and I think either Lennon opened the door or somebody opened the door, and he was, because there's a photo of my dad. I've showed it here on the channel. I don't know if I have it. Anyways, there's a photo of my dad where the Beatles are leaving the King Edward Hotel in Toronto. And in the photo it's John Lennon and Paul McCartney. And my dad is there, and you can see my dad off to the side with his pen, and he's going like this at them. And Lennon or one of the two, I don't know who it is like, oh, it's you. Like my dad said, they're like, oh, it's you, because the jig was up. They realized my dad was actually a reporter, and not whoever he claimed to be when he knocked on the door. Like that kind of stuff you can't do now. You can't do that stuff. I mean, that would be like the equivalent of doing that today to whoever the hottest music act is in the world right now. Like who's the hot, like Lady Gaga or something, like actually getting up to her hotel room, pretending to be you can't do that. There's no way you could do that now because security is tighter. There's security cams everywhere. There's, phones in everybody's pocket with cameras, and it's just, and rightly so. I'm not saying you should be able to do that. I'm just saying that it's a very, very different time, and that was whenever the Beatles came to Toronto. I think they might've come to Canada or, Toronto twice. It was either 1965 or like 67 or whatever it is. I'm not sure, but yeah, I mean, it's, but totally, if you knew my dad, you'd be like, oh, 100% he would do that. 100%. He was like that. Super chat comes in from AK Channel TV. Thanks, buddy. Sends in $4.99. Says, you mentioned nature versus nurture. Do you think Michael's a product of nature or nurture? What about Freddy? Keep up the good work. Well, Freddy, I don't know. I don't know about Freddy. I would say that Michael is probably nature because of the way that it's displayed. So now obviously we don't know about the first 6 years of Michael's life and what sort of crazy abuse might have been going on. But the reason that first movie is depicted in the location that it is, and it's against the backdrop of this old wartime home in Midwestern, America, and the parents look well, to do, and they're dressed nicely. And it's because John Carpenter is speaking to you through cinematic language and saying to you, this is strange. Michael, this 6-year-old child, just snapping like this shouldn't be happening. He was a normal kid. And that normalcy is presented to you through the environment. It's not trash. It's not in a seedy part of the city. It's not, it's not what Rob Zombie was doing with his remake. Rob Zombie is telling you it's nurture, right? So Carpenter, with the original, it's really nature. And what that is, we don't know. And that's why it works, because we don't know. With Freddy, it's hard to say. It could be both. It's hard to say what made him the way he was, because he was already an adult, when he was killing children. So I don't know. Logic tells us that it's probably nurture. Maybe he was abused as a child or something. I mean, that's kind of how those things go. But I'm not sure. But with Michael, I would definitely say it's the original Halloween. I would definitely say it's nature. And what that nature is, we don't know. Matthew Ferrer says, no, it's just a thing online I found out. It's really creepy. People online are a bunch of freaks. People online, listen, there's a lot of wonderful things online. There's a lot of great people online. And then there's a lot of pieces of shit online too. But I think that's just the way it is in society, right? There's a lot of great people in society, and there's a lot of shitty people in society. I think the thing that well, I don't need to go into that. I was just going to say, I love, the internet is such a great place, but it's a place that has where everybody can give their opinions on serious, stuff. And I say this with all due respect. I'm not talking about anybody in the chat room. I'm not talking about anybody personally. I just mean this in a general sense. Not everybody's opinion matters. It might matter to them, but there are so many people that say dumb shit and I'm just like, that's just incorrect. Well, we'll agree to disagree. No. You can't use agree to disagree when you are literally incorrect. If somebody was to say to me, I don't know, I think, and it's me, Billy, Billy is actually the manifestation of this. And I'm like, that's not true. You're reading too much into that. That's actually not true. Well, agree to disagree. It's like, no. There is no agree to disagree there. It is, I'm the director. I'm the writer. I'm telling you, you are wrong. It doesn't mean that. You are literally wrong. There is no agree to disagree. You're actually objectively, factually incorrect. You know what I'm saying? That's a thing that sometimes bugs me, is when you'll see people go, agree to disagree. And sometimes it makes sense. Sometimes you look at the back and forth and you're like, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense to say, well, we'll just agree to disagree. But sometimes people will use that as a means out of the argument, because they're losing the argument, because they don't have the facts. They don't have the material to actually present. So they'll just say, well, you will agree to disagree. It's like, no, you can't. Not in this situation. You are actually incorrect. I think Darth Vader's a golden retriever. No, you are actually incorrect. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to the extreme to make a point, but I'm sure you've seen those kinds of debates online. Maybe you've even been involved in some yourself, where somebody will say, agree to disagree. And you're like, no, you can't use that here. You are actually incorrect. It's not an opinion. It's not an up in the air can be interpreted. No, this is actually incorrect. Water's not wet. No, it is. Agree to disagree. It's like, no. Anyway, that kind of thing sometimes grinds my gears. I'm like, what are you doing? That's not true. But yeah, the online space it's wonderful. I love everything wonderful about it. I love you guys, and I love the community we've built, and talking movies like today, jumping on spur of the moment, just having a Q&A, talking about all kinds of movies, all kinds of shit, whatever, right? We're just talking. I love that kind of stuff. But then there's the dark side of the internet where, man, it's crazy. It's crazy stuff. Vampira Kitty, I think is how you say that, sends in, again, 20, is it Norwegian? Knock? I don't know what that is. Let me see what that is there. N-O-K. It is Norwegian. I was right. The Norwegian krone? Is that how you say that? Krone. I learned something. Or is it Kron or Krone? That's really cool. Well, thank you very much, Vampira Kitty. Appreciate that. Says, have you seen the movie Pinchcliffe Grand Prix? Is it Pinchcliffe? Is that how you say that? Pinchcliffe Grand Prix? I haven't. I don't know if I've ever heard of it. Maybe I have. Hang on, Vampira. Let me just Google this. It's a movie that, oh, wow. And it's a Norwegian stop motion animation film. So I understand why you're asking me about it now. I have not. No. But you know what? I actually like stop motion animation when it's done really well. So I would be open to checking this out. I'm going to have to, I'll read up on it and maybe I'll watch it. Thank you for bringing it to my attention. I just noticed that I have the autofocus on this whole freaking stream. My apologies if at moments throughout the stream, the camera went in and out of focus. My apologies on that. But very cool. Thank you. Cinemagic follows up with 20 Nokia Crones, maybe. Do you like the band Nightwish? I have never heard of the band Nightwish. Are they Norwegian as well? I've never heard of them. Sorry about that, but I appreciate you supporting the channel with a super chat. Thanks very much. I really appreciate that. Aaron Click, like when someone says the earth is flat. No, you're wrong. Aaron, agree to disagree. Listen, the earth, we don't know. It's all CGI. I'm telling you right now. Have you ever been up in space? Aaron, have you ever been in space, looking down from orbit, seeing the sphere? No, you haven't. You just have to trust all these NASA. I'm telling you, the earth is flat. Well, what about all the other planets in the sun? Oh, well, they're round, but the Earth is flat. So all the other planets are round, and the Earth is round, and the moon is round, but the Earth is flat. Yeah, yes. Yeah, you know what? We'll just agree. Aaron, we'll just agree to disagree. We'll just agree to disagree. No, you're wrong. No, we're agreeing to disagree. Okay? Ah! Man. My apologies to any flat earthers that may be in the chat room or may be watching this after the fact. We're coming up on 2 hours, so we'll go for just a couple more minutes, and then I have to skedaddle. In just a couple of more minutes. Okay, Lee Bauer says, Dave, you going to get the 4K Black Christmas from Scream Factory? Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I am. Fear the Phantom. I like that. Fear the Phantom. I like that. Fear the Phantom says, hey, Dave, what do you think about the different approach to the next Scream movie by having take place in New York City? Happy holidays. You see, this goes back to what I was saying earlier. There's always somebody watching for the first time or may have missed the question earlier. Okay, well, quick recap. I'm not a big Scream fan. I really only like the first movie. I don't hate any of the films, but the sequels are largely just lesser versions of the first movie to me. So switching it up and taking it to Manhattan is interesting to me. Montreal, because that's where it was shot. It was shot up in Canada. I'm curious. But I'm not overly excited. I'm not a huge Scream fan. So I'm not overly excited, but I'm curious. I'm curious in the same ways I was when Scream 5, came to be. So I'm more curious to see, really, if anything, how is this Scream movie going to play out without Sidney Prescott? I think it's going to be fine because she was hardly in 5 anyway. And and now that we're invested in Jenna Ortega and, the rest of the cast, that's who you're going to be glommed onto and living through the experience of the movie. So, and we know that Gail is in it. We know that Courtney Cox is there, but, wait and see. It could be really cool. A breath of fresh air for the Scream franchise, or a colossal failure. Maybe a Jason Takes Manhattan thing. I have no idea. Mikey Film sends in $2. Have to disagree with you, Dave. Water isn't wet. Mikey, agree to disagree. It's dry. I love it. Isn't that fun? I swear to, I've never been in them. Because I rarely, every now and then, the only time you will see me get into, when I say get into, you'll see me, like, maybe you're perusing the comment section of one of my videos and you see like a thread where I've like commented back like 4 times or something, right? Just know that's probably a thread where somebody has, well, I guess this could work, but they've never said it. Somebody has maybe put words into my mouth or said something that I didn't say or kind of missed what I was saying. So I'm correcting them. And then maybe they're trying to go on about something or whatever. But I do my best to like never get involved in that kind of stuff because it just leads nowhere. 9 times out of 10, when people are doing that, they're trying to bait you into some sort of a response. But I have seen, whether it's on Twitter or, the YouTube comment section, I have seen, as I'm sure we all have, some debates or some threads where you're like, no, you can't say agree to disagree. Like that it's factually incorrect. It's like you can use that sometimes when the end result is open to interpretation. It's deliberately open to interpretation. It's maybe some of the information is not currently known about a movie's plot or about a movie's, like, for example, we don't know what Crystal Lake is going to do yet. And I could say, no, you know what? I am sure, I have this feeling I'm sure that they're going to go back to the 60s. And you're like, I think they're going to stick it in the 80s. And I'm like, no way. No, 80s, no way. Yeah, I think it's possible. And I'm like, nah. And then we can go, well, you know what? We'll agree to disagree. Because neither of us know. Neither of us actually know what they're going to do. So agree to disagree on what we think they're going to do. That's fine. But you can't agree to disagree on facts, things that actually can be measured. Or when the director or writer of a film comes out and says, hey, I know you interpreted it this way. That's cool that you could do that, but that's not actually what's happening here. Agree to disagree. It's like, no, no, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. Anyway. Oh, the internet, how I love you. Eddie Chase sends in $5, says, I like Scream films, but thought 5 was overrated. Don't like new cast aside from Jenna and Mindy. Everyone else is blah. They need to do something fresh. Well, you know what? This might be it. I said I had never heard of Jenna Ortega. I had never seen her before. And you guys know that when Tony and I watched Scream 5, we watched it for the first time here on the channel during an episode of Two Dudes. You got to watch it. It's back last January, I guess, or February, or I forget now. But I had never laid eyes on her before. There was something, and it's not like it's a riveting performance. There was something about the look of Jenna Ortega and the way she was in that movie. I said to you on that stream, I'd never heard her before. I'd never seen her. I said, this girl's going to be a star. I didn't even know that she had X coming and fucking Wednesday. I didn't even know any of that. I said, there's something about this girl. She's going to be a star. And Tony was like, yeah, like, you could be right or whatever. And then somebody in the chat was like, no, agree to disagree. No. But then now look, right? You got X, you got Wednesday, you got 666. I think she was in that. She's in Scream 6 now. And, she's kind of carving out a little bit of a horror, but I don't think she's going to live in the horror genre. No way at all. I think she's cutting her teeth in the horror genre, which a lot of actors and filmmakers do. 100%. She's making a name for herself. And then you're going to see her cross over into something else, maybe a comedy or a drama or something like that. That's what I think. But you're free to disagree because we don't know. But we'll see. We'll see, man. We'll see. I'm excited to see her back in the movie, though. Daisy McMillan says, I think Scream has ran its course. What else can they bring new to the franchise? I know, Daisy, I hear you, but we're going to see. Is this going to be a Jason Takes Manhattan thing? Is this going to be, I don't know. Like, what's going to happen? I really don't know. I'm not sure. Oh, Evil Alex says, just to be sure you didn't miss Super Chat from Cinemagic. Thank you, Evil. I appreciate that. Let me go back. Cinematic. Okay, I did get this one. The one where he asks about Nightwish. I did get it. Maybe you were taking a pee. I'm not sure. I've never heard of the band, so I'm not really sure. So I don't know, but I did get that. Let me go back and see if there's another one I missed. Cinemagic. I'm not seeing. Have you seen the movie Troll? I got that one as well. So yes, I think I got them. I believe I got them. Hey, the Slaughtered Lamb is here. Always great to see the Slaughtered Lamb here. The Slaughtered Lamb likes to watch from afar. Every now and then they pipe in. Oh, yes, and this would be a good time to say this Saturday, I believe it's live, right, Darren? It's live this Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern time, I believe. Myself, Darren and Frank from the Slaughtered Lamb Movie Podcast, and Chris. What's Chris's last name? God, I forget now. Cosplay Chris, who you may or may not know. If you're not following Cosplay Chris on YouTube, you got to. We are doing a live stream. I believe it's live this Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern. It's the collab to end all collabs, where we're talking about our favorite Christmas movies, which can be horror, which can not be horror. It's just Christmas movies. Top 5. So I'll do a top 5. Darren will do a top 5. Frank will do a top 5. Chris will do a top 5. So make sure you tune into that this Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, over on this. I believe it's you're going to spearhead it, if I'm not mistaken, over on the Slaughtered Lamb Movie Podcast's YouTube page. So if you're not following the Slaughtered Lamb, Darren, feel free to put that link into the description. Follow them, like, subscribe, watch their content. You will thank me for it. And that's not like they're not paying me for this. And I'm just like, if I didn't think that, I just wouldn't say anything. To be totally honest with you. Matthew Ferreira says, Dave, I swear I run into so many creeps online that try to justify their shitty behavior. Yeah, look, I mean, having an opinion is great. We all have opinions. We all like what we like. We all hate what we hate, and that's totally fine. If somebody ever said to me, listen, I don't like Avatar. I hate it. It didn't work for me. If that is true to them and they're being true and genuine and that's truly how they feel, that's great. Like I'm an unabashed Avatar fan. But if that's how they feel, there's nothing wrong with that. Hey, man, that's how you feel. But where I lose respect for people is when they glom on to the confirmation bias groupthink mentality, and they just start recycling buzzwords and, the echo chamber of the YouTube channels that they're watching. I try to formulate your own thought, and don't be afraid to like something or even love something other people hate. Never be afraid to like or love something everybody else seems to hate. Never be afraid. Never. If you love it, love it. I loved the first Avatar. Loved it. And there's lots of people that also love it too. But as we know, there's a huge, very loud online presence that always makes fun of it. I don't fucking care. I'm not going to change my tune and go, oh yeah, just to fit in. I don't care. No, man, I love Avatar. It's great. I like it. Well, I don't. Okay. Agree to disagree. Oh, man. Matt Mars sends in $2. Says, is your Freddy going to be better than Merkin's Freddy? Merkin's Freddy? Who's Merkin's? Merkin's? I don't know what you're talking about. Who's Merkins? I have no idea. I'm just doing my thing. I didn't look at anybody else. I didn't think about anybody else. I just tapped into my knowledge of the Freddy character in terms of the voice and the cadence and the mannerisms. And I was able to lose myself in the character and embody the character. So whether or not you like what I've done, whether or not you like the approach to the voice and the nuances and the cadence and all those things, I don't know. I don't know who you talk about when you say Merkins. Merkins? Is your Freddy going to be better than Merkins Freddy? I don't even know what a Merkins Freddy is. Sorry about that. Chester Franklin Jr. says, Dave, final question. Do you favorite kill each and Friday part 6, 7, 8? Keep up the great work. I don't know. I don't know those movies as well as you do, Chester. So, I mean, off the top of my head, my favorite kill in Friday 6, I don't know. I got to watch the movies again. I'm not sure. Did we do, I know I was part of some of the Friday best and worst of over on the Slaughtered Lamb. I think I was part of Manhattan. That might tell you maybe what my favorite kill was. I can't remember, Chester. I'm not really sure. I'm not as dialed in on those later Friday films as you might be. The Slaughter Lamb says, I know what a merkin is. Has anybody ever said anything yet about what it is? Merkin? Daffy Duck is actually a turtle. Agree to disagree. I love it. It's going to be like a new thing here. Agree to disagree. Hey, listen. My name's not Dave. Agree to disagree. Paul. Unimpressive Muse says, Merkins did those Backstreet Boys parodies. Oh, okay. Those were really funny. I liked those. I thought those were really funny. I'd have to, I don't know what he's doing as Freddy. I don't know. I'd have to watch again. I mean, will it be better that, well, I'm not dancing to Backstreet Boys. I can tell you that. So, you know, okay. I didn't realize that was the name of the group or the channel or the bunch of guys that did that. I didn't realize that. All right, folks, listen, that's going to do it for me here on this Wednesday Q&A. I really appreciate you all tuning in very much. Thank you, of course, to my great moderators, Frank Riker, Tab the Short, Darren Sands, Chris Baber, Cody Snyder, and Andrew Stevens. Really appreciate you guys doing what you do. Thank you to those super chat questions that came in today and some of those non-super chat questions today, of course, because I probably wasn't talking about Halloween. It was a light chat room today, at least as far as my channel goes. And I was able to get to some more non-super chat questions, which is always fun. You see, for those of you that say that I just answer super chat questions, I don't. It's just sometimes when you got 500 people in the chat room and 30 super chats, yay. It takes a lot of time. But today was great. I was so glad I was able to answer some non-super chat ones as well. I will be back probably, it's a busy week. There's a lot of things going on with It's Me, Billy Chapter 2 and all that kind of stuff. But definitely next Monday night, 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. And I may be able to slip in another Q&A maybe later this week. Who knows? But don't forget, Saturday on the Slaughtered Lamb Movie Podcast, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, myself, Frank, Darren, Cosplay, Chris, our favorite Christmas movies, top 5. Don't forget to tune in and check that out. All right, folks, that's going to do it for me. Have a great rest of your Wednesday and a great rest of your week. And I will... Oh, hey, I totally forgot. If you want to follow me on social media, you can. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all my links are in the description. Check them out until your heart's content. And when your heart is content, check them out again. That'll do it for me. In the meantime and in between time, I will talk to you soon. Alrighty. Cheers.